This is the breaking news. Just in the SportsCenter, the Steelers, they don't have a quarterback, and now they're going to be without their top wide receiver from last season. Our Adam Schefter reporting that the Steelers will finalize a trade that sends George Pickens to the Cowboys for future draft picks. The deal expected to be finalized today. So now it's all DK Metcalf out there in Pittsburgh. Pickens will join CeeDee Lamb to form that new 1-2 punch on the outside in Dallas. Lamb had 101 catches and ranked 8th in the NFL in receiving yards last season on his way to second-team All-Pro honors. Meanwhile, Pickens was 8th in the NFL last season with over 15 yards per catch.
Another stratosphere in terms of pay. No deal, though, for the Niners quarterback who is ready to become the next $50 million quarterback at just 25 years old. Busy time for GM John Lynch. Made some Rager Monster-roos, extended tight end George Kittle for 4 years, and then talked about Purdy today.
I can tell you, we made it a practice not to talk about negotiations, and that goes way back to when I was playing. I felt like that was my business, and I didn't want the world knowing it. So I've always been very sensitive to that.
Yeah.
But what I will tell you, can tell you, is we're having really good, positive discussions. When it gets done, I'm not sure. Hope sooner rather than later, but hope is not a strategy. So we're making progress. We've had good discussions.
He sounds optimistic there. NFL insider Jeff Darlington joining us now on SportsCenter. Jeff, where are talks right now between the 49ers and Brock Purdy?
Well, Kev, it's amazing how a positive tone can give a lot of optimism about a negotiation because, quite frankly, we are all optimistic about this because John Lynch has simply said so. And I am told that talks have been quite positive. Now, if you keep in mind that in past years, the 49ers have had some negotiations that have dragged on, that have been dramatic, that have led to people asking for trades. They don't want this to feel like that with Brock Purdy. Now, what does that mean in terms of a timeline? 49ers aren't exactly saying that, but generally speaking, these big deals for quarterbacks get done in the summer. The 49ers would like this to get done sooner than that. It would actually not surprise me if this got done, say, even around the time of OTAs, which honestly could be by the end of May. It's an optimistic timeline, but again, optimistic tones out of John Lynch.
That is good for 49ers fans. Let's go to the AFC and let's see how Bengals fans are going to feel after this question. Because Trey Hendrickson, of course, led the NFL with 17.5 sacks this past season. A lot of talk about potentially trading him. They couldn't get a deal done. Where are they in contract talks?
Again, optimism isn't necessarily, is always something that we look for. We're not necessarily seeing it in Cincy. In the form of Trey Hendrickson earlier this offseason asking to be traded. Not very happy, frustrated, in fact, with the way negotiations were going. I will say this. There are people in Cincinnati that I still talk to that do put that optimistic tone, that say it's not a done deal yet in terms of trading Hendrickson. They still believe there is a possibility that they could get a deal done. I'm not saying that it definitely happens. I'm just saying that at least from the Bengals standpoint, they have not closed the door. And we thought with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, that maybe they wouldn't be able to keep both of those guys. They did. Can they pull off the hat trick and do Hendrickson as well? Remains to be seen, Kevin.
And again, a reminder, he's not the only big-name pass rusher waiting for a deal this offseason. Micah Parsons also involved in those conversations this offseason. Jeff, thank you. There were only 2 quarterbacks taken in the first round of last month's draft, bucking a recent trend. But could one trend continue with impact rookies? How about in 2023, C.J. Stroud leading all rookies with 23 touchdowns and 5 picks, becoming the youngest player to lead the league in touchdowns to INT ratio. Now, last year, it was Jayden Daniels' turn, joining Andrew Luck as the only rookies in league history with 10-plus wins and 4,000 combined yards, leading the Commanders to the NFC Championship game. Our quarterback, Tim Hasselbeck, joining us now on SportsCenter. Tim, it's not supposed to be as easy as how Daniels and Stroud made it look the last 2 years, but when you look at this rookie class, who has the best chance to stand out?
Well, Kevin, it's not supposed to be that easy, and it's not that easy. So I don't know that it's going to happen, but I'm going to say Tyler Shuck, who went to the Saints, I think he's got the best chance. And I say it for a couple of reasons. One, he's supremely physically talented. I think some of the reason that he was a little bit unknown was his path in college, was injured, bounced around to a bunch of schools, but physically, I think he's able to do it, and be on par with, some of the more talented players in the league at the position. I also think there's, not the same level of expectation that some other guys, walk into. I think that could be the same. You could say the same thing for both, situations in Houston and Washington, with Daniels and Stroud. And so when I look at that, and then you combine, Kellen Moore in there, one of, the better offensive play callers, in the NFL. I think that combination could lead you to some success, especially with the uncertainty of what's going to happen with Derek Carr and his health.
All right, with you bringing up Carr with that injury, of course, it may not be one of those wide-open quarterback battles in New Orleans. It's set to be a wide-open quarterback battle in Cleveland, potentially, as you look at that quarterback room, as they have two rookie quarterbacks. Shedeur Sanders getting his jersey number at 12, Dylan Gabriel getting his jersey number at 5. We've got rookie camp right around the corner. Why is this camp so important for these two men?
Well, it's an opportunity for a first impression, as a pro player. So I would start there. And there's also, kind of an overwhelming feeling for rookies when you go into a rookie mini camp. Yes, the vets aren't there, but you're learning everything. Like, where are the meeting rooms? Where's the equipment room? What is this terminology that I have to master? What does it look like in that first mini camp? How do you assert yourself and the impression you make on your teammates? So, and then for these two quarterbacks specifically, look, it's going to be a lot of attention on the competition, between the two of them, even though they're behind two other guys that, have a lot that they bring to the table. So, look, it's going to be magnified because of the situation, how they handle it, and how they show their teammates how they handle it, as well as the organization, I think will be important in terms of what we see down the line once the veterans do report to camp and training camp and the season starts.
And those two veterans is Joe Flacco coming back to Cleveland, and Kenny Pickett, acquired in the offseason by the Browns with that trade with the Super Bowl champion Eagles. By the way, Browns rookie minicamp begins Friday. Tim, thank you so much.
Back. Hi, Tim Hasselbeck is back. He has not revealed what his Met Gala outfit was, but we'll just have to wait for that. We're going to play a game where we show you a picture from an athlete at the Met Gala, and then you tell us how many wins you think that their team can get this season. And we'll start right there with the aforementioned Justin Jefferson. More or less for the Vikings, 8.5 wins.
I'm actually going less on this one. And they were a really good football team a year ago. I love what Kevin O'Connell does with his football teams that he coaches. But look, the switch to J.J. McCarthy, I think, is significant. And the division is brutal. Like, I think Green Bay is going to be the best team in the division. I don't think that Detroit's going to be taking, much of a step back. You look at what Chicago is doing. I think they're an improved football team. So when you look at all of that, it's hard for me to find, the ninth win, when you look at it that way. So I'm saying less.